The global city. A global city is a city that serves as a primary node in the global economic network. The concept originates from geography and urban studies, based on the thesis that globalization has created a hierarchy of strategic geographic locations with varying degrees of influence over finance, trade, and culture worldwide. There's an example of the global cities: New York, London, Paris, and Tokyo. The global city represents the most complex and significant hub within the international system, characterized by links bending into other cities that have direct, tangible effects on global socio-economic affairs. The criteria of a global city have varied over time and depending on the source. Common features include a high degree of urban development, a large population, the presence of major multinational companies, a significant and globalized financial sector, well-developed and internationally linked transportation, infrastructure, local or national economic dominance, high-quality educational and research institution, and a globally influential output of ideas, innovation, or cultural products. Good day, sir. I am Engine Cadet Cabanero Jumerson. My topic is all about the global city. What is the meaning of the global city? Global city, an urban center that enjoys significant competitive advantages and that serves as a hub within a globalized economic system. The term has its origins in research on cities carried out during the 1980s, which examined the common characteristics of the world's most important cities. However, with increased attention being paid to processes of globalization during subsequent years, these world cities came to be known as global cities. Linked with globalization was the idea of spatial reorganization, and he hypothesized that cities were becoming key within global networks of production, finance, and telecommunication. In some formulations of the global city thesis, then such are seen as the building blocks of globalization. Simultaneously, these cities were becoming newly privileged sites of local politics within the context of a broader project to reconfigure state institution. So good afternoon, guys. This is Cadet Correlia Ryan Michael, and today I will be answering about what is the meaning of global city. So, what is the meaning of global city? Global city is an urban center that enjoys significant competitive advantages and that serves as a hub within a globalized economic system. The term has its origins in research on cities carried out during the 1980s, which examined the most characteristics of the world's most important cities. However, with increased attention being paid to processes of globalization during subsequent years, these world cities came to be known as global cities. So, how to identify global cities? So first is home to major stock exchanges and indexes. Second, influential in international political affairs. Third is home to world-renowned cultural institutions. And lastly, service a major media hub. Examples of global cities are Toronto, London, and Tokyo. They are chosen to be diverse enough so that you can see the difference in geophysical characteristics, climate buildings, land use, urban design, transportation network, and social interactions.
Good day everyone, I'm here to report about the characteristics of global city. People might have slightly different conceptions of what makes a global city, but social scientists generally agree on four defining characteristics. These four characteristics came from sociologist Saskia Sassen's 1991 work, The Global City. The first characteristic is that global cities are command centers for the global economy. Consider how certain companies and industries are becoming increasingly global and decentralized with production points and consumers all over the world. Global cities are places in which these companies coordinate this widespread production. So for example, Pfizer is a global biopharmaceutical company that produces all over the world and is headquartered in New York City. The second characteristic of global cities is that they serve as the headquarters for the leading financial services. For example, think of New York City's world-famous stock exchange. The third characteristic is that these cities are themselves production sites for services and goods that are central to the global economy. Not only do these cities take control of faraway production and consumption of services, but they also participate in that production. In addition, the fourth characteristic is that these global cities are sites of consumption for these services and goods. For example, JP Morgan Chase is a leading financial service provider headquartered in New York City. New York is thus the command center for Chase's global world. But Chase also offers services to active consumers in New York City itself. A number of studies were undertaken to produce various rankings. However, when you look at them, you see that the definition of global city used is far broader than Sassen's core version. Wikipedia lists some of the general characteristics people tend to refer to when talking about global cities. Each city is a very lengthy list, but some of them are home to major stock exchanges and indexes, influential in international political affairs, home to world-renowned cultural institutions, service a major media hub, large mass transit networks, and home to a large international airport.
So hi guys, I am Decadet Cabello and I'm here to report the characteristic of the global city. So what are the characteristics of global city? So a global city, according to Saskia and Sassen, is a significant production point of specialized financial and producer service that make the globalized economy run. In the age of globalization, cities are no longer isolated on their influence on the global economy, which is cannot go overlooked. Many factors are taken into consideration when deciding whether a city is global or not, such as factors including being a home to major stock exchanges and indexes, having an influence in international political affairs, and being centers of news, ideas, and innovation in businesses, economics, culture, and politics. For a city to be global, it has to meet the requirement of global flows and economic state should. One example is a global cities index, and the list published by the American Journal of Foreign Policy in conjunction with the Chicago-based consulting firm on AET, Kearney and the Chicago Council on Global Affairs. Based on consultation with Saskia, the Global Cities Index has 5 criteria upon which cities are ranked: business activity, human capital, information exchange, cultural experience, and last but not the least, political. And this criteria is measured by the number of headquarters of important and major international corporations and top businesses servers firms, the value of the city mark, the number of international events held each year, and the flow of goods through port and the airports a number of major global corporation and situated in for example the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, also known as NASA. So that's all, and again, this is Cadet Fresho Cabello, and thank you for watching.
Good day, sir. I will discuss to you about my assigned topic, which is what are the examples of global city. So, early studies on global cities focus on important urban hubs like London, New York City, and Tokyo. The study of rising global cities outside of its triad, such as Amsterdam, Frankfurt, Houston, Los Angeles, Mexico City, Paris, Sao Paulo, Sydney, and Zurich, has been completed over time. Such as cities are taught to collaborate to establish a global city network that serves the needs of transnational capital across large areas of land. They are choosing to be diverse enough so that you can see the differences in geophysical characteristics, climate, buildings, land use, urban design, transportation network, and social interactions. It's all about infrastructure of the area. Infrastructure refers to a foundational piece to everything we know in terms of the quality of the life is taken for granted, and people should pay attention to this and needs to be prepared to pay for it. The infrastructure that Toronto has today was built in 1950s. It is basically 30 years of inactivity around most infrastructure in the Toronto area. Infrastructure serves a big portion of the economy and keeps so many people working and healthy. Also investing anywhere and investing on the future. Infrastructure are used to everyone in the city every single day and includes the water lines of domestic use, drinking daily, and every for transit for sewage services to hydro. Without the infrastructure, our society will not function. Example, when we turn the lights of the light will go off, there are lots of chaos. London is going through a period of major investment in a new infrastructure in order to meet the burning population growth. The most significant in the Crossrail, largest construction project, 100-kilometer plus rail line that will pass through 40 stations from Heathrow and Reading in the west to Abbeywood and Shenfield in the east via 42 kilometers of new tunnels under central London. Tokyo has continued to rise bleeding with all new. Tokyo also is a banned city. Everything in Tokyo are arranged. People are respectful with different religions. This is the end of my report. That's all, and thank you.
My topic is all about the challenges in the COVID-19 pandemic. COVID-19 is a global challenge that demands researchers, policymakers, and governments address multiple dimensions, which go far beyond the implication of this pandemic for health and well-being. Just as the U.S. Sustainable Development Goals call for focus on the connection between development policy sectors and the pandemic exposed the complex global interdependence that under economic highlighting faults in lines in social structure that perpetual economic, social, and gender inequalities. Here are the highlight that the pandemic emerging potential consequence for achieving sustainable development with respect to the 6 global challenges, areas we collective address to the UK Research and Innovation Global Challenges Research Fund, food system, education, cities, and sustainable infrastructures, security and protracted conflict, refugee crisis and forced displacement, environmental resilience, and global health. As the immediate health consequences of the pandemic unfold and begin to be suspended by the impact of public health containment measures, we call for focusing on research and action not only to mitigate these impacts to build sustainable and strengthen resilience in the future recovery. In 2018, 820 million people worldwide were experiencing chronic hunger. By 2019, those living with acute crisis level food security and increased from 113 to 135 million. COVID-19 could almost double this number to 265 million by the end of 2020. The poorest of the poor are the most vulnerable to the compounding impact of COVID-19 on the global food system, including its effect on food production, transport,
processing and safe distribution and to farm local markets. Without international collaboration, protections measured by national governments and disrupted supply chains could cause for food shortage, increasing food prices worldwide. On the top of the pandemic, agricultural and natural disasters such as an extreme weather events, plagues and locusts, and army worms sweeping across continents are hurting food production and creating further stress on local nation and regular food across the worldwide. COVID-19 is also creating an education crisis. Most governments around the world have temporarily shut schools in an effort to enforce social distancing and slow viral transmission. The UN Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, or UNESCO, estimates that 60% of the world's student population has been affected, with 1.19 billion learners out of school across the 150 countries. Loss of access to education not only diminish learning from the short term but also increase long-term dropout rates and reduce future socio-economic opportunities. The consequences of COVID-19 schools closure are predicted to have a disproportionately negative impact to the most vulnerable and risk exacerbating global inequalities. Vulnerable children will have fewer opportunities to learn at home, face greater risk of exploitation, and may lack of adequate food in the absence of access to free subsidized school meals. The response of the education system to COVID-19 needs to be particularly extensive and cultural contextual factors including gender, socioeconomic, and geographical difference in order to ensure that they do not exacerbate inequalities. Even without a pandemic, conflict is often the ultimate social determinant of health, producing a wide variety of health challenges ranging from constraints of health system to difficulties in delivering access health services. COVID-19 implies government potential to exercise unlimited executive powers that might exacerbate conflicts and have a devastating impact on conflict-affected population. The UN Security Council called for a global ceasefire to allow access to vulnerable population for prevention and response of COVID-19 has not been headed, and there is increasing exchange of artillery and shelling across some of the oldest conflict fault lines. International agreements, treaties, and peace agreements had been discredited as the world focused on COVID-19. Furthermore, as noted by the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, there has been alarming rise in population brutality and civil rights violation under the GU's execution emergency measure.
Good day, I'm the Cadet Las Cunha Carlo, and I'm here now to discuss or explain what are the challenges of Global City with the COVID-19. So, many challenges that we encounter the global cities, especially during the lockdown. So, there are many challenges, and I'll pick only 3 challenges that we encounter and affect to our society. So the first is panic buying. So some people get panic buying because of a limited stock for food, and other cannot buy their needs because the reason why is some people get selfish in terms of food because they prepare always ready their food and always have a stock because of the COVID-19. So the second is the unemployed. So there are many company that time of lockdown have closed or stopped because of some reason, and the one will affect there is their family, especially those people who support or got sustain their family, and they will cannot sustain it because they are unemployed and their company has stopped because the reason of COVID-19. And the third is the prices. So the prices rises because the reason why is they have only limited stock for food, and that's why the prices get rise. So if the price get rise, so some countries can suffer this. So most of the countries can encounter these challenges is the third country. So which is the example is the Philippines. There are the third countries, so they will face the challenges of their prices rises. So because of this COVID-19. So that's all my challenges encounter of global cities and COVID-19. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. I am Chris Arnold Alcover, and my topic is all about the global village theory. The world is experiencing many changes which have resulted in the elimination of boundaries in how people communicate and connect. People can communicate with their peers worldwide without limitations on time or distance. People on one continent can engage trade in those on another continent. Technological advances marked by the emergence of the internet and social media have made it easier to communicate and reduce the world into a global village. The history of these advances can be traced back to predictions made by Marshall McLuhan, a communication theorist who studied mass media in depth, particularly in areas such as computer technology and television. McLuhan is famous for making predictions and coining terms that remain relevant today. He coined the term global village after observing that electronic media was connecting people worldwide quickly and to extend that the world was being transformed into a village. Now, what is global village? McLuhan described the global village as a situation where all people worldwide would be more connected through modern technologies. The global village definition implies that even people are not physically close, they can still connect, share experiences, and access the same information through technologies such as social media. Through these platforms, people can express themselves and make an impact to any part of the world. The advantage is that global village made it possible to connect people regardless of where their geographical location. Other than social media, one of the examples is the web. It is often seen as the medium that most closely people joins throughout the globe, allowing anyone with an internet connection know what is going on around the world with a click of a mouse or the use of our phones, and to communicate with individual groups of people in faraway places. In terms of globalization, global village can be thought of as a process by which countries come closer together through increasing contact, communication, and trade. To create a single global system in which developments in one part of the world influences individuals and communities elsewhere in the world. Although global communication is directly affected by the process of globalization, and it helps to increase business opportunities, remove cultural barriers, and develop global village. Both globalization and global communication have changed the environmental, cultural, political, and economic elements of the world. In some point, globalization and global communication have made it easier to see people on the other side of the world as a neighbor, instead of a stranger from a faraway land. One of those purposes of global village is to express the ideas that people throughout the world are interconnected through the use of media technologies. The interconnectedness implies that people worldwide can connect and share information and experiences even when they are not physically close.